For a week now, analysts and military experts have been continuously discussing the massive missile attacks of the Russian Aerospace Forces on the territory of Ukraine that have been going on for almost 7 days. At the same time, Western experts began to call this strike on Ukraine the missile attack of the century. Experts and analysts are still under the impression of these missile strikes. Moreover, even American experts with pro-Ukrainian views were forced to admit the greater efficiency and effectiveness of these missile strikes. Against this background, Polish military experts from the Center for Eastern Studies wrote a rather detailed article on this topic. So, according to them, the renewed massive missile strikes on the territory of Ukraine caught NATO and the Ukrainian General Staff off guard. Experts claim that the Russians managed to deceive NATO military intelligence, which was sure that Russia would act according to the old scheme, using the so-called Surovikin tactics, which provided for the destruction of Ukraine's military energy infrastructure. Moreover, a few days before these Russian missile strikes, the US military significantly strengthened the protection of Ukraine's military energy infrastructure by installing a significant number of air defense systems there, thereby exposing other strategically important areas. And, as subsequent events have shown, this is exactly what the Russians wanted. As it turned out, the massive missile strikes that began at the end of December were aimed not at the military energy infrastructure of Ukraine, but at the military facilities of the Ukrainian army and NATO. Polish experts note that because the Ukrainian General Staff completely classified the consequences of these Russian missile attacks, as well as the targets at which the strikes were carried out, it is not possible to assess the true damage that was inflicted on the Ukrainian army and NATO forces. However, even though the Kyiv authorities threaten Ukrainian citizens with imprisonment for filming Russian missile strikes on their mobile phone cameras, video footage of these missile attacks and their consequences regularly appear on the internet. And even from these frames, you can understand how much damage is being done to the military facilities of the armed forces of Ukraine. So, studying these videos, Polish experts concluded that the Russians managed to destroy tank factories in Zaporizhia and Kharkiv, numerous workshops for repairing NATO weapons in cities such as Sumy, Dnipropetrovsk, and Lviv. At the same time, Polish experts noted that the main targets of the Russians were military factories located in Kyiv. And thanks to a new tactic that successfully deceived NATO military intelligence, all these factories were destroyed. In particular, we are talking about such military plants as Luch, Quasar, Radio Izmaridal, Artyom, and Mayak. At the same time, it is worth noting that all these factories were engaged in the production of electronics for airplanes and missiles. In conclusion, Polish experts said that now the top military leadership of NATO and the General Staff of Ukraine are in a tense state, as they cannot understand whether Russia will adhere to the new tactics or will return to using the old Surovikin tactics. Because of this, the Ukrainian military and their NATO advisors cannot effectively distribute the remaining air defense systems. They have to constantly guess where exactly the Russians will strike next. As a result of this, strategically important facilities located on the territory of Ukraine lose the ability to effectively repel missile attacks. Meanwhile, a military expert and defense reporter for Business Insider, Chris Panella, made a statement that shocked the West in Ukraine. In particular, he said that Russia has huge reserves of all types of missiles, and that Moscow is capable of conducting dozens of such massive missile strikes. Moreover, he also noted that neither US nor NATO intelligence has approximate data on Russia's missile reserves and the production capacities of the Russian military-industrial complex. At the same time, the expert is convinced that this is just the beginning, and that such massive missile strikes will only gain momentum. Thus, it becomes clear that even Western experts recognize that Russian missile strikes quite successfully deplete Western air defenses and destroy military facilities in Ukraine, making Moscow's future victory inevitable.